Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. Sulaiman Rahim here, messenger of the covenant, breaker of the seven seals. Let's bring in our audio audience. This is the Black Alert section of of the fire zone. Black Alert. No bullshit zone. We stop the bullshit here. Welcome. Brothers and sisters, we're going to discuss the demons, the hidden enemy. Now, those of you at Quranic orientation, you know it talks about the open enemy. The devil's been open enemy. But that suggests there must be a hidden enemy. And it is. Now, the Quran doesn't talk about demons. At least none of the translations even mention it. And the Bible talks about it to some degree, but it doesn't define what a demon is. But they've been raging the planet for 500 years, 500 plus years. And they're the hidden enemy. And then it takes the AL-INJIL, the unsealed Bible, to reveal their identity. And it says that Suleiman, or Joshua, which is just another name for Jesus, or the Christ, that would be his first battle, to expose them and dispose them. Because they went undetected for approximately 500 years, 500 plus years. They were undetected. You very seldom, if ever, hear anyone talk about demons. You never hear Farrakhan talking about demons. You hear the preachers talking about demons, right? You might hear some reference to demons in the movies, but it's some invisible force somewhere, or people, they talk in terms of, well, I got demons, you know, well, I got problems, you know. But they talk in the Old Testament, or so-called New Testament, they talk about demons. In Mark, the demon plague, and the chief demon, Legion, Louis Eugene Grounds, and no eye backwards. But they never really describe who they are. And like I said, for the most part, they went undetected for nearly 500 years. And they are a powerful enemy. They remain hidden, not because they weren't hidden because they were in some other dimension, right? Or in some external heaven somewhere, because no one knew who they were. See? They was in disguise. They was camouflage. See? But the Bible does talk about them. Elijah talked about them very suddenly, right? Because he said they would spread their seeds, talking about the devils, right? And it'd be their children, not ours. Now I can get the quote, because it's in this message to the black man. But that's pretty much what he says about them. But he doesn't call them demons. He's talking about they mix their seed with us, right? But it says that's their children, not ours. See? That's the message to the black man. See? We talk about the chaff and the wheat. And it says an enemy sowed his chaff amongst the wheat, and they would be strangling the wheat all the way up to the harvest time, when then they would be separated. Because the people was told, Elijah was told not to try to separate them, because it'd be too difficult. It says Suleiman would have to do it. And there you see a Mark that he comes and he exposes them and then disposes them. The hidden enemy. Very diabolical. But I'm trying to explain it in terms of international I guess I could say international politics or international relations. I'm not sure if that's even a proper term for what I want to talk about here. See, because you're seeing the world in a very complicated way, and they want you to see a complicated way. They want to complicate it to confuse you. They want to complicate the world to confuse you. The world is not complicated. In fact, it's very simple. That's why, you hear the word talk about the simplicity of Christ. See, the world is very simple. Very simple. Hold on, brothers and sisters, for a second here. Let me check on my audio, brothers and sisters here. Make sure they're getting some good sound here. Okay, because we've been having some sound issues. The video sounds great, but the audio sound, same sound. It's a little left to be desired. Let's see. So, like I said, the world, actually, the whole creation is simple. The math behind it is very simple. But I have a saying. I say, simple minds complicate and complex minds simplify. See, the devils, right, they have very complicated philosophies and versions of the mathematical models of the universe because they didn't create it. See, it's beyond their mental capabilities. So it's complex to them, and they come with complex models. It's like all these religions trying to define something they did not create. And so therefore they have philosophies, and they give it to you as religion, and they just attempt to try to explain this creation, this reality that we exist in. That's all they are. They're just philosophy, but they cross the line when they come and tell you that, well, that's what you got to believe in. When they don't know it's true or not. Because why are there so many of them? There's only one true reality. So why you got so many religions? Because they're just philosophies on how things work. Because we lost the ability, we lost that knowledge 50,000 years ago, and that's when 35,000 years ago they came up with their first philosophy. See? And they call it religion, because Buddhism, they call it religion, right? Of how things work, how things came to be, how the universe came to be. Those are philosophies. See, based on ignorance. But they tell you they're the truth. That's the way things work. Yet they cannot bring anything out of those realities into existence. Because if those religions were true realities, they could bring something into existence from it. You'd have a Buddhist car. You'd have a Hindu fuel, right? You have a Christian electricity. But no, they can't. Because they're just philosophies on how things work. The only thing that can do that is mathematics. That's the true religion, if you want to use the word religion, because it's not even religion, it's just reality. Wolves have reality, cows have reality, right? Penguins, right? Sharks, right? Robins, right? They all have realities. Hawks, eagles, but they don't have any religion. So they smarter than us. They know how they survive very well. They don't have a religion. See, we never had a religion before. We just had a way of life. The true reality was based on mathematics, which was mathematics. Until we lost that ability, then we came with other ways. It's like a person that used to walk, but now they can't walk, so they got a cane to help them get around. See. It's not walking. So that's what religion ought to help you try to get people to understand some idea, and it's usually for manipulation purposes, because it gives some idea how things work, so someone can control, right, what they're doing. See, it's about control also. See, because then you got the imams and the spiritual leaders and whatever, right, that tells you they're the mediators, see, between the God that they claim to exist and this reality they claim exists, and they're spokesmen. See, so in other words, they speak for this power that you don't understand, but you got to listen to, you got to obey. That's these so-called spiritual leaders. See, and they forward these religions because they use that to control you. But you don't understand that, so you believe that stuff, and they can't prove it. Like I said, and they just try. That's why so many of them, and they're there just try to explain. They try to explain how things work, why you're here, the creation. It's a philosophy, and also a tool to control you. See, because there's threats about this life and what happens after you die and that kind of stuff. But from an international level, see, like I said, everything is very simple. So when you understand the world today, the world is broken down into two spheres. Two spheres. See, it's the democratic sphere and with everything else. See, and the democratic sphere is spearheaded by primarily America. See, and if you're not, and you're either Democrat or you're other. Now, and you one or the other. See, there's another. Okay, now you could be the other, but if you are submissive and you are obedient to the Democrat, then they'll leave you alone. See. So we're going to go into how these things work. Okay. Now, see, we're going to take it step by step here. Okay. Now, we're told scripturally, in every scripture you can think of, the type of system, right, that the scriptures recommend, right? Well, not even recommend, but that's some of the kind of system that he sets up, right? Are kingdoms. We look in the scripture, we find kingdom. We don't find democracy in any form in any of the scriptures. We find kingdoms. That's why I call them kingdoms. The kingdom of heaven, because they rule by kings. And that's what we told that the God, for the religious scriptural people, that's the kind of kingdom that God sets up. Top down. See? And we say all throughout history. See? Until we some evidence back like in Greece they said they call so-called some kind of form of democracy, and then in Rome, they had some kind of form of a republic, right? Which semi democracy. But we said the Europeans developed this stuff, and it really brought it to, but it didn't go worldwide until Gog and Magog, after they came out of the Dark Ages. And you need to read chapter 20 very carefully. Chapter 20 of Revelation is their history. That's them being in the Dark Age for 1,000 years, being locked up by the resurrected Abrahamic Islamic empire. Because that's what Prophet Muhammad did. He has resurrected what Abraham had done. They don't want you to know Abraham built the Mecca, built the Kaaba, and built up Mecca and started the pilgrimage. They don't want you to know that kind of stuff. He's the one who set up the pilgrimage, all that stuff. Because he's associated with God, and they can't say, they can't throw dispersion on Abraham. And so they don't tell you that Abraham set that stuff up. They say, well, no, this is some moon god and all this kind of stuff. Prophet Muhammad started Islam. No, he just read. That's why they call it resurrection in chapter 20. He resurrected what Abraham had done because the people had descended into idolatry. He just cleaned it up. That's why I call it a resurrection. He resurrected Abraham Islamic empire. That's what he did. They don't want you to know that. See? So Abraham, that was a kingdom. He was the God. He was the king of his he ruled his kingdom. Prophet Muhammad ruled his kingdom as long as he was present. See? So these was the kingdom, like King David. All these was kings that God set up. Kingdoms. See? But then when the Europeans came out of the Dark Ages, I said read chapter 20 again, because they would be locked up for 1,000 years, then they would come out, and they rule the nations, and they deceive all the nations. And it'd be two world empires, Gog and Magog. And there's only been two, Britain and America. So there's no argument about that. That's who Gog and Magog. Gog is not Russia. Gog is the two empires that will come out of the Dark Ages. And there's only been two: Britain, the sun never sets on the British Empire, and America. And America is the greatest of the two. Britain came up first. That's why you see the ram. And Daniel says they had two horns. The greater horn came up second. The lesser horn came up first. That's the ram. That's Gog and Magog. Okay? So at that time, the world was not based, not like now, and not based on economic plane. It was not divided along economic lines. It was not divided upon political lines. It was pretty much divided among religious lines. You had the Christians, you had the Muslims, you had the Hindus, you had the Buddhists. It was pretty much divided among religious lines. And to the extent there was conflicts, it was mostly religious conflicts. To the extent there were conflicts. See? Because you didn't have conflicts all over the world. See? You had pretty much stability. Because everywhere the Europeans went, they found stability, and they left nothing but confusion, destruction in their wake. But they found stability most everywhere they went. See? They didn't find disease, tyranny, right? Confusion, right? They didn't find that. They didn't find poverty. They didn't find that. But that's what they left behind. Okay. It says they would go out to steal, kill, and destroy. That's exactly what the Europeans did when they escaped the Dark Ages, the abyss. Europe was there turned to a shithole. That's why I was escaping it, because that's what they do. And they came out and they, right? They stole this land. They stole Canada. They stole many lands, Australia, and they killed off the inhabitants. And America particularly brought us over here and destroyed us as a nation. That's exactly what they say would do. But these things are very simple, brothers and sisters. So you listen to all these preachers with all this BS. They confusing you with all these verses and everything. This is very simple. I'm making it very simple to you. But what they found mostly, any divisions there was on religious basis. You see, the Crusade was all about religion. When they conquistadors, they would come out and they said, well, they had to convert everybody to Christianity. Everybody was heathens. And so they gave them the right to do whatever they wanted to them because they was heathens. See, so it was religious on those lines. See? But then they got, then they changed up. They changed up. And they changed up. America brought about the major change. You see? Because they went from a religious division of the world to a political one. See? Because it wasn't kingdoms anymore. They wanted to establish a democracy, and they wanted to put the world on a political basis. See? So there's democracy versus everything else. So that I mean, like I said, there was democracy in the semi-democracy and semi-democracy in the past, but not like this. Not like this. You see? Now, like I said, kingdoms is God's construct, if you want to go in those terms. But democracy is man's construct. See? Now, like I said, we're going to try to connect some dots here. So we're going to use a scripture, because that's where we're going with this. See? Because most of you say you claim you believe the scripture once was from one degree or another, but I don't believe you believe the scripture at all, because most of you don't read it, and you don't understand what you're reading, and you don't care, because would you follow whatever charismatic figure comes along and say whatever they want to say, and that's what you're about. You don't care what they say, like idols. You don't care what the idols say. The idols don't say anything. You just care how it looks. Like Farrakhan. You're not paying attention to what Farrakhan's saying, because if you did, you wouldn't be within 5 seconds. See, but he's so handsome, he this, he that, right? It doesn't matter his father's the devil. See, that's proven. We all shout it out. He even says it. And we got the proof. So the world got divided amongst political meaning. See, so now you got democracy, and America's a bulwark of democracy. It's the beacon on the hill, and everything else. But that's who did Jesus say? Y'all claim you believe in Jesus, right? Yes. Who did Jesus say? Who did Jesus say was ruling this world? Who did he say was ruling this world? He says Satan is God of this world. Okay. Satan is the God of this world. So he's the one that's ruling this world. So if you with Satan, then you're going to be successful. If you're not, if he's ruling, then he's going to take, you're in his system. So he'll put you down if you're not with him, and if you're with him, then he'll lift you up. If he's the ruler, but they're not telling you that. Even the scripture says that. That means the God they're praying to here is Satan. Okay, let's look at it from another perspective. When Jesus was in the desert and Satan confronted him, what did Satan say? Did Satan say, well, I got a few nations in my control, so will you just bow down and I'll let you, I have the access to them? Or did he say, I got the Western Hemisphere under my control, or the Northern Hemisphere, or whatever? Or did he say, I have all the nations under my control? Did he say, I have all the nations except America? He said, I've got all the nations under my control. And if he didn't have this most powerful nation under control, what kind of God would he be? So that tells you right now, they're all worshiping Satan. That includes the Sunniism too. He has all of them under his control, all of them. The only one who wasn't under his control was Elijah. And if you understand the scripture, then there was John. Only one under his control was Jesus or Suleiman, because he couldn't get him to bow. And by inference, also Elijah or John, he couldn't get them. See, but he confronted Jesus directly and tried to get him to submit to him. And he couldn't. He had all the nations, but he couldn't get him. See, that's what the scriptures say. So he's telling you under Satan's rule. You're under his control. You follow his laws, his idea, his reality. You may not like that, but that's exactly what the scriptures say. So you don't like that, then make up your own scripture. Scripture says you worshiping Satan. Is that one of the reasons why, especially in America, in European countries, they don't have a name for God. You just say, well, God. See? In God we trust. What God? I ask them, what God? Then you get silence. What God? See? Because Satan's a God. See? But no one wants to accept that, so that's your problem. We just tell you the truth here. This is no bullshit zone here. So if you can't handle that, bye. So the world is divided into political lines now. See, you got God's rule, and you got Satan's rule. But it's complicated. Well, we got communism, we got socialism, we got this ism and that ism, capitalism. All those things confusing you. It just broke down into two different, Sunniism just broke down into two planes. It's democracy and everything else. See? And democracy is Satan's rule. That's his system. That's not God's system. You won't find it in the scripture anywhere. That's not God's system. God, because he's called the King of Kings and Lord of Lords and Lord of Lords and King of Kings. The God is called Lord of Lords and King of Kings, and Suleiman or the Lamb is called King of Kings and Lord of Lords. They're not called democracy or politicians. And see, the thing is that would they break it down even simpler than that? They say either democracy or you're dictators. Either dictators or you're a Democrat. And then the word Democrat itself gives you much information because demon. See, democracy, demon. That's a big hint. And scriptures often give you big hints like that, like demon itself, half devil, half man. That's what demon is, half devil, half man. That means you're the chaff. You're the offspring of devils. You know, but your mother wasn't a devil. That's why it says, because the demons are just devils, right? Who are not circumcised. What do I mean by that? See, the idea of circumcision is, the basic idea of circumcision is what we know. The male being circumcised, right? Physically. But the spiritual idea of circumcision means you got rid of that black tone, that black skin tone. See, because you would not be successful in the time in the deprivation, right? If you wasn't circumcised. That's what you're circumcised, you'd be successful. That's why a lot of nations got circumcised. The Arabs, they got rid of that black skin. See, you see over here in the Western Hemisphere, right? Almost all in South America, almost all people down here, right, has been circumcised, got rid of that dark skin. I'm not going to the math or science of that, but that's what it means. See? So, the demons, I said, these words, you got to pay attention. These words, there's a lot of hints in these words. There's a lot of words like that, like Nicodemus. Remember the story about Nicodemus? Nicodemus, he thought he was a righteous man. He met Jesus secretly. I'm a righteous man. I pay the law and everything. Jesus, I don't care. We don't want you. We don't want you. See, he's a demon. Nicodemus, that's the hint. That's why I said he didn't want me. He cared about his righteousness. Like I said, they're righteous as filthy rags. Because they're demons. See? And so demons would be quasi-successful in a devil reality, this false reality they created. So again, the world is broken down into two spheres. See, that's the sphere of God, kingdoms, and the sphere of the devil's democracy. See, he's a traitor. He's no. That's what the Bible says. See, he's sadistic. See, he get him on. Remember they tried to get Jesus on sedition. See, we ain't advocating killing anybody. See, we're not going to go to war with anybody. See, but we're going to defend ourselves. That's what it's all about. See, because they're the aggressors. So you have the two breakdowns. Now, a king is what they would call a dictator. Well, that's what Jesus is, right? See, they give it a bad name, dictator. He tells you what to do. Well, isn't that what Jesus says? He says, my way, the highway. I'm the only way, right? He said, the only way you can get to the Father is through me, right? And if you don't obey me, you go into hell. I will destroy you if you don't obey me. See, 100%. See, even if you Quran, you have to submit 100%. And so that's what they call a dictator. And they hate dictators. Because see, the rest of the world is dictators. If you're not a democracy, you're a dictator. But dictators, that's keenness. That's the system God set up. But they give you, man, that breeds with dictators. You say dictator, man, all of a sudden, man, you foul. You're sick. You worse than you're a terrorist. But that's what Jesus is. That they say they love, they say they worship, because they don't. See? They want democracy, where the people tell, because who is the dictators in democracy? The masses, they're the dictators. They tell everybody else what to do. In other words, the majority tell everybody else what to do. They're dictators, still dictators. Because once the majority makes a decision and the minority has to go along with it, that's a dictator. Is you have a dictator either way. But they shifted from one angle, one perspective to another. You see? They said, well, we're not going to allow them to exploit the minority. Right? Well, how can you do that when the majority is the one to do the voting? See? So they hate God. They hate God's system. See, you talk like this and that don't make any sense to you because that's not what you've been taught. So I start talking about that, man, all right, dictator, them evil. You think of dictators evil. They're evil. See? And they portray him as evil. Well, he's a dictator. That's the first thing they pull out on Putin. He's a dictator, which he's really not. See? Because they have their own form of democracy over there. But they got to be but if it's not, if you're against America and your sense of democracy don't mean anything. Because you know the Iranians, right? There was a democracy back in the 50s. But they didn't like their democracy because their democracy was to take and nationalize their own resources. Because Britain Petroleum was in it, BP was still in there taking their resources, their oil. They said, hell with that, that's our oil. And so next thing you know, they put a tyrant in there. They'll say you got another flavor of this thing. So it's not that quite simple as just democracy and not democracy, because you can be a dictatorship, but if you're in submission to the democracies, then they won't bother you. See? But if you if you're not in submission to them, then they're going to destroy you. See, you got to submit to Satan. You got to submit to Satan. See, but you don't see it that way, because that's why I say, woe to those who say evil is good and good is evil, because you worship Satan, but you don't see it that way. You don't see it that way, because you think you worship Jesus, the God. See, and that's not God's kingdom. And you're going to tell me that Jesus sanctioned the coming over here and the genocide of these people and the stealing their land and the destruction of our people? Oh, no, that's what they would tell you. See, because they made up their own reality. Their reality goes something like this. See, they're the spiritual seed of Abraham because the Jews lost their place to be the seed of Abraham because they went against Jesus. So now they're the spiritual seed of Abraham, and America is the promised land. See? And so if America's a promised land, then these people is heathen, and so they get the right to get rid of them and take this land. Because it's the promised land God promised them, so they're not stealing it. See? And then we are the seed of Shem, who was cursed by Noah and God to be black. That's how black people came about. Because they was immoral, they did a very immoral act. And so they was cursed black and cursed to be slaves forever. So enslaving us was no issue. You see, because God had already condemned us to be slaves. So in their minds, they're good people. You see, they're not worshiping Satan, even though they did the works of Satan. But see, they was obeying God, because this was the promised land, right? So they just got rid of the riffraff that was on it, and we were going to be slaves. So nothing wrong there. Brother and sister, you got to understand this stuff. I'm not telling you anything that's crazy, but it seems crazy because you've been taught that's the opposite. It said they would go out and deceive the whole world. You see? And so, what's this hidden enemy thing? You see? And that's the diabolical part of it. Because the Quran talks about an open enemy, that's the devils, and you didn't know who they were until Elijah came in and told you who the devils are. And Farrakhan had to come and reprogram you to say, no, they're not devils. You see, the devil's in you. You know, because you're so sinful, the devil's in you. You got to struggle with the devil in you. See? And it said it would take Suleiman book to come and expose the demons, because they was hidden. See, the devil's an open enemy, but they was a hidden enemy. Because how they came about? Because They, they went, it says the enemy would go and sow his seed, his chaff seed amongst the wheat, and then go away. See, that's what they did. They went in all these nations and raped the women and whatever and spread their seed amongst all the nations. All the nations. And so when the fruit sprang up, right? See, when the seed took root, right, and sprang up, then they had devils in all these kingdoms, which are called demons. They had demons spread all over the world. See, now the demons, right? They got the same outlook on life, the same nature as their daddies. See, now the Europeans, remember, they done went democracy. They serving the devil. They got Satan's, right? They got Satan's system because that's their nature. Their nature is a lack of discipline, instability, reprobate. See, that's why you see right now America's just out of control. I mean, they can't tell what a woman is. They ask what's a woman. She can't. And they should have followed up and said, "Are you a woman?" When they did the Supreme Court nominee, she couldn't define what a woman is. What's a woman? I can't tell you. Does that tell you something? See, they got men competing with women, saying they were females, transgender, beating the females, and then they see nothing wrong with that because they lost their way. See? Instability. So when you see it in those terms, you got two different natures. You got two different natures. See? And that explains why you don't necessarily need to be a Democrat. See? Because it's about nature. It's about nature. See? Because if you got wolves and sheep, and you got wolves in sheep clothing, you're concerned about the nature. You're concerned about the look. Because that wolf is going to eat you, but he looks like a sheep. And he's going to tell you to focus on on his look, on his features, right? On his skin tone. See, his appearance. He don't want you to focus on his nature. Man, you sure act different. Wait, what's wrong with you, brother? What you mean act different, man? You got a problem with brothers, man? You being divisive? See, because they don't want you to look at their nature. You look at their nature, then all of a sudden you tease them out. You see, you expose them. If you look at nature, they don't want you to look at nature. They want you to look at skin tone. That's how the demons are the hidden enemy, because they look like you, they walk like you, they can talk like you, but they ain't you. They have a different nature. See? And so the genius of them spreading their seed all over the world, right? Destabilized all the nations. That gave them extra leverage for room to rule. Because now you got this crop of demons all over the planet. See? And their heart and minds are going to be towards the devils. And America is the beacon, right? It's a beacon of the devils. It's that's the beacon, America. You know that because that's what all this started from. See, it spread to the French Revolution, whatever, but it started here, and America started. That's the beacon. See, and so they use that as an excuse because now the nation is destabilized. So now, in other words, we have a nation that was homogeneous, right? Like a Chinese or a Japanese, homogeneous. Everybody was, there was harmony. Everybody was on the same page. But now you got this crop of demons come up, and all of a sudden you got confusion. You got dissatisfaction. Remember Elijah Muhammad said dissatisfaction brings about a change. So now you got dissatisfaction all over the world. And even in all these nations, you got dissatisfaction because, right? Because they have a different nature. You see? So you got all these dogs, right? And they all doing their thing, right? And then you went and sold a bunch of, you went and put a bunch of wolf babies amongst them. See? And then you wait till the babies grow up. Now you got a conflict between the wolves and the dogs. Didn't have before. You see? So that's what happened. So all the nations became destabilized. And then it became oppressive. See? Because if you got two different natures and they're fighting against each other, then that's they define it as oppression. Because you're trying to establish a homogeneous society, right? And you got two different visions, two different natures, and so one has to oppress the other to dominate. That's just basic understanding, basic logic. So now you say, well, they're oppressing. But see, it depends on who's oppressing who. Because if the demons, right, they got control, they don't care about them oppressing. See, because they're keeping down the non-democrats. But if the other way around, oh man, they're oppressive, they're dictators and carrying on. See, and so America specifically, but the Europeans in general, they use that as a context. I mean, use it as a pretext to go in because they got to protect people from being oppressed. See, we got to protect them from being oppressed. See, they Democrats. See, but you got to see it through a clear vision, because what they're saying is that they sowed these seeds there. They knew it was going to cause division, and so now they can use that to go in and invade country, take their stuff. See, because now they got their seed there, and then when the seed grows up and sprout, right, and that they're going to cause this division, because their heart is going to be towards America. Their heart is going to be towards Satan, towards democracy. See, that's what they want. We want democracy. See, like you got the Taiwan, for instance. Right, that's a good example right there. You see, that's those people there. They're demons. See, they're not Chinese. They're demons. See, and so their heart is towards America. So America used that to say, okay, see, China's oppressive, and we got to protect our. In other words, we got to protect our children. That's what they're really saying. See? So all over the world, that's what they did. That's the genius of it. The hidden enemy. See? Because it says the nation would gather together to make war against God. How can you not understand that statement? How can that square that circle? If the nation prepared to make war against God, then you mean all the nations except America? All the nations, why? Why would have they? Because, in what way? In other words, God is an invisible force. He says, way beyond the moon, the stars. How can they make war with him? How can they make war with him? See? And the Lamb of God says, these 10 kings will make war with the Lamb. So how can they make war with him? These are invisible beings way beyond the untouchable. You can't see, you can't detect. They're in some other dimension, some other spiritual plane. They tell you right here, God has to be a man. How can they attack him? How can they make war with spirit that they can't even see, don't even know, can't prove exist? How can they make war with it? That's totally impotent. I mean, not impotent. What's the word? When you have also unlimited power, right? So how are they gonna make war with somebody like that? Because that's not what the nature of God. See, you can infer certain things by just reading carefully and read between the lines. See, so they have war with his system. Because they have war with the system that he's going to establish. See, because that's what it is. America has been at war with everything that, any kind of system that God set, every kind of, if you got a kingdom, they're at war with you, unless you're already submitted. Like Saudi Arabia, for instance, they've submitted. You understand? See, they go along with Satan's rule. See, they tell you, it says, do not make friends with devils and Jews and Christians, or you one of them. And now ain't they making friends with them? So that means they're not even Muslim. And they're not Muslim anyway, because the angel tells you that the house of Saul are really Indians, that the British sit on the throne. That's another issue altogether. But I'm trying to get you to understand, in simple terms, the world's divided into two spheres. It's the Satan sphere and the God sphere, right? The kingdoms which are ruled by kings, somebody call them kingdoms, and those ruled by, right, by the so-called majority, the body. In other words, it's the body against the mind, right? So you got a person that's disciplined, because discipline comes from the mind. Another person that is not disciplined, their body tells their mind what to do. Now you know how that's going to work out. But that's the system they're telling you to go along with. See? A system of instability, a system of chaos. See? Where the people, because every nation is a body. I don't want to go into too deep into little concepts like this, but every nation is a body. That's why the Bible tells you, that's why the Christians use the word the body of Christ. Every nation is a body. And that body produces brain cells, heart cells, foot cells. In other words, people, for every part, the aspect of that body needs. It's like your body. You have heart cells, you got foot cells, all these things that your body needs, right? And they're controlled by the mind. If you have any discipline. Every nation is like that. They produce the people that they need to do all the different things necessary to be done. See? So you have the intellectuals, the intelligence, right? They're the ones that's supposed to lead the nation. But in democracy, they say, no, you can't lead, right? The majority has to lead, the body has to lead the mind, see? Which is disaster. But no, man, see, that sounds good. Oh, man, we got a democracy. Well, you didn't have a democracy when you came over here. And it was democracy that imprisoned your ass. It was capitalism and democracy that imprisoned your ass, right? It's democracy and capitalism that destroyed your ass. See, because you didn't get much democracy anyway. See? But you're a Negro, but you've been programmed to believe all this bullshit. You're not told. You're not supposed to analyze it, because if you're a thinker and they found you thinking, they would kill you. You wasn't if you was forbidden to even think. When you was in chain slavery, you was forbidden to even think. If they caught you even thinking, at first you never had time to think anyway, because they had you working 24/7. You were so tired, you had time to think, even if you had the capability. See, so you have to stop the thinking, and you'd be dead if they caught you thinking, trying to think, and you had nothing to think with. To think you need information, and you had no information. You had no information on anything. You couldn't read, you couldn't write, you know, north from south, anything. All you knew was you was on that plantation, and you had to pick that cotton. That's all that you knew, period. And your basic fundamental needs, like you had to eat something, they gave you shit to eat, shitlings, right? You had to go to the bathroom, but you didn't have a bathroom. You pissed out in the woods, wherever you was picking that cotton at. See, you had nothing. And when they so-called freed you, you was left. They threw you out. They fried you. You had nothing. How would you survive? You had no food. You had no clothing. You had no access to anything. But they would just threw you out in the streets, and you had nothing. And you couldn't even walk around because you was on somebody's plantation. That's why I call it a cruel joke. So they freed you. Send you back to your land, did they? You was free before you came over here. You wasn't Democrats. We had kings. And you was doing fine. You see. But that kind of talk is, man, that's treasonous. See, he's a communist. See, and I'm not a communist. I mean, any of that stuff. See, because it says the God's going to set up a kingdom that will not be destroyed. And he says democracy, and Jesus is not going to be no voting. Jesus is going to be your king, whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, then your ass go to hell, and they won't have to bother with your ass no more. Just get rid of you. See, but that's the way. That's what they're against. They can't come and tell you directly because they expose themselves. See, but they worshiping Satan, and Satan that's the kingdom that he wants. This democracy is capitalism. Capitalism slavery was capitalism. It's capitalism at its very best. That means they work you and don't pay you anything. That maximum profit. And you don't see this stuff. Stuff is so simple to see. See? But you got your heart frozen with fear. That you can't, you wouldn't dare say these things. You wouldn't dare think these things. You wouldn't be associated with this. Because you're afraid you're going to lose your job. You're afraid they're going to stop, mass going to stop feeding you. Because you're still in slavery. What do you think a job is? when you was in unchained slavery, if they said, okay, we're gonna start giving you money to buy that shack you're living in, and buy those shoes they giving you, and buy the shitlings they feeding you, right, and pay for that mule to get back and forth to the fields, right? See, right? You say, okay, now I'm getting paid, man. I got a job, right, and I'm free because I can buy. You're still the same thing. Only difference is they're just giving you money. And now you claim the situation has changed not one bit. Not one bit, not one iota. All now you think you're free. Because see, I can pay for this stuff. See? That's the same thing's happening right now. Nothing's changed. Now you don't call slavery, you call it your job. I got a job. And now I can pay for that shack. I can pay for these shoes. It's the same thing you got right now. You got a car to get back fast your mule, right? You got to pay, right? We work on a job. Was a dictatorship on that job because you do what they tell you to do, and you get fired, right? And you can pay for the shack. What you think a mortgage, all that stuff is? It's the same thing, brother. You've been deceived. It said they would deceive the whole world. You've been deceived to the maximum because you never had that crap before you came up here because you didn't have it because you owned it. The world is yours. But now they're renting it out to you. They rent out to you your reality. You create all this stuff, and they now rent it out to you. I mean, if that's not diabolical, what you call it? They rent out to you your creation. They're renting out to you your creation. Let me say it again. They're renting out to you your creation. But they don't want you to know that you did all this. Read Malachi. No, not Malachi. Read Hebrews 7. Read about Melchizedek. They tell you how he's no beginning, no end, no birth record, anything. But they say specifically, but he's a man. Read it. They say he's a man, not a spirit or spook. He's got to be God because he had no beginning, no end. Melchizedek. But they say very clearly, I don't care what translation you get, he's a man. How come they don't read that scripture to you? That's Hebrews 7. Check it out. So they got the world down break down these two things. And now they got you worshiping Satan, and they got these demons. But I could talk about these demons for the next 10 years. See? I'm doing a follow-up on the demon Genesis, right? See? And I'll probably do a couple more. Because that says that's the main target that Suleiman had to take out because they so diabolical, right? They're so effective. Wolves in sheep clothing. See? These demons, see? Because that's what I said, they destabilize all these kingdoms. And that gives America carte blanche to go in and, oh man, see they're oppressing. They see the logic of it. Oh man, because first of all, what right to have invading other countries anyway? But see, they say, oh man, see, because we good people. See, we saving people because they being oppressed, and we go in there and we helping the oppressed, and that sounds good. It sounds good politically, but yeah, you want to help the oppressed people. Who's being oppressed? See, it depends on who's being oppressed there, because if their people are being oppressed, they're gonna go in and kick the hell out of, right, the kingdoms, the dictators. But if their people are oppressing other people, they're not going in. See? They're not going in and knocking out the Australians, are they? Who are oppressing the Aboriginal people. They're not getting them. They've been oppressed. See what I'm saying? They going in. If their people are being oppressed, their demon children are being oppressed. See, and they would be because they just stabilizing all these countries because they got different. They're gonna cause confusion in the country. Because now, oh man, we want freedom. We want democracy. See, oh, we got to go in and save those people. We got to save them because we got to defend democracies. That's the cry, but it's a bullshit. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. See. But that's the politics of it. See? So it sounds good and it gets you to go along with it. See? And so they do it all over the world. See? And I said that the exception is that if they're people, or if they're already they're in submission to Satan, then they'll leave them alone. As long as they're in submission and they're paying tribute, to like Saudi, House of Saud. So they're paying tribute. They're giving free. They're giving virtually free oil. In fact, it's free when you break it down, understand it. That's why all the so-called educated Arabs and everything are terrorists, because they're trying to stop, because they know what the process is. Because what's happening is that Saudi Arabia, right? The America's paying them in dollars, right? For the oil they're giving them. And where the dollars being invested back in America. So America has those dollars and has both the oil. And we already got an example of that with Iran. Because remember, they was a democracy. America didn't like that. Britain didn't like it because Britain was stealing their oil, BP Petroleum, and so they had America CIA going in to stabilize the whole country, and they put the Shah on his throne, which was a dictator, right? But he was an American dictator. He was giving the West everything they wanted, so he was giving them cheap oil, and plus he's putting the money back in American banks. And so what happened? When they was disposed in 1979, America, on books, America was in debt because they had to pay, they owed, because they paid all this money for his oil. But they had the money back here in the banks. And so once he was disposed, then they kept the money and the oil, so they didn't pay a dime for it. They didn't pay one red dime for all the oil, or maybe trillions of dollars of oil they got from for about 30 years from Iran. See, they don't tell you that. They say, well, why they hate us? See, and when the Shah tried to come over here and get it, they wouldn't even let him in the country. They wouldn't let him in the country. They said, you can't get that money. So when they tell you that they giving Iran this money, they giving their own money back. Oh, they giving Iran $3 billion or whatever on some sanction relief. That's their own money that they had here. See, so they didn't pay for that oil at all. See, and that's the same thing they do in Saudi Arabia, because once that oil runs out, the oil is not unlimited. Once it runs out, or some reason why they get disposed, right? Then they'll say, you didn't treat women right, you didn't do this, whatever, and they'll say, okay, we're going to freeze all your funds. That means they didn't pay a dime for that oil. Zero. Because the money's here and they got the oil. That's the scam. That's why all the so-called terrorists over there are people with degrees and everything else, educated people. Because they know what's happening. They know once that oil runs out, that they got nothing but sand. Nobody's buying sand. So that's the deal here, brothers and sisters. That's what's really going on in the background. Let me say it clearly. What's happening is they went and sowed their seed in all these nations because they know when they will crop, when the seed grows up, when the crop that comes up from it, right, it's going to destabilize the nation because they're going to have a heart back towards them, the seed they came from. See, they're the devil's seed. They got the same nature. That's why I said they spread. It says the enemy took and sowed his seed amongst the wheat. So he did all over the world. And now it springs up, and when they spring up, right, the crop springs up. The whole nature and everything is towards America, towards the Europeans, not to the people that they're living amongst, because they're a strange seed. They're seed from their alien seed. And so they cause disruptions and everything amongst their people, which they didn't have before. Then America steps in and says, we got to defend them. See? And so they get an excuse to stabilize, to go and invade the nation and take their stuff. So I'm trying to keep on that level. But if you look at it from those terms, that's what's really going on here. That's what's really going on here. The hidden enemy. See? And we got that going on. We got it really bad amongst our people here in America, because it says half the blacks in America are demons. Because they insistent, relentless rape of our women for 400 years produce demons. And I talked about that because when a female, she has a child, whether it's demon or not, if she has a child, she's going to love it. So then now they have us worshiping, helping, serving demons, because now she loves, she's going to make everybody else love them. It's so insidious. And I'm trying to get you to understand, get you to really understand the nature of what's going on, this hidden enemy, because they're so diabolical, so insidious, so intransigent. I mean, it's like, You couldn't believe. It said they were so bad that in Mark, they had the man beating himself. The man was beating himself. He was in so much torment because of these demons. See, because they have you working against yourself. Because they don't care nothing about you. And when so-called slavery was over, because they didn't need you, so they freed you, right? Then the demons, right? Because they was in the master's house. They still in the master's house. But they was living off us too. See? But now that we were so-called freed, right? We was thrown out and thrown in a ditch. They didn't give us anything. We was totally lost, homeless. That's why we started singing the blues. Then the demons say, Master, what we going to do? I mean, you know, Master, you ain't going to live off of us. You can live off of them, and they've been living off of us ever since. The politicians, the Black Caucus, and the musicians, rich and famous, right? The Hollywood stars, the sports figures, they're all demons. They're all in Master's house. Because they ain't with Master, let them stop waving the flags. Let them stop waving. Start talking Master's talk and see how long they last. See, that's where they are. And so they live off of you. That's why they don't want you to go. They living off of you. That's what it says in Mark. They was living off the man. They was parasites. And then Jesus had to call them out. He said, come out of that man. Come out. Leave him alone. Stop living off of him. You see. And so they said, well, no, please don't make me leave the country. Because they want to stay here with Master. That's what it said. My name is Legion. Louis Eugene Grounds, N-O-I backwards. That's what Farrakhan's name is, Louis Eugene Grounds. Go do a bio on him. And look at his father's name. His father's Percival Clark. They show a picture of him. Depends on what kind of device you have. They show a picture of him, but his name is Percival Clark. And they say he's Jamaican. That's his nationality, but his ethnicity is Caucasian. He's a devil. And so is so that makes Farrakhan a devil. He's the chief demon. I'm not going into all the details about what his purpose is. I've talked about that, right? See, I'm going into detail, and generally his purpose is that those that escaped via Elijah, his job is to put them back to sleep. See, Elijah thawed him out. His job is to put him back in the freezer. See, so the hidden enemy. Let me see what else I got here, bro. Since maybe we close this out. Let me see what else I got here. Oh, the Great Deception. And that's the Great Deception, brothers and sisters. See, they spread all over the planet. Cause that's why you got all this chaos in planet and all the planet. But the contest right now is what? Think about it. The contest on the planet right now, from American perspective, is dictatorships or democracy. You see what I'm saying? It's very simple. They broke it down very simple for you. Either you're a Democrat, or you for democracy, or you for a dictatorship. If you're a dictatorship, then you fail. You're a target. See? You're a target. See? It boils down as simple as that. Now, they make it complicated to confuse you, but it's just simple as that. That's where the world is broken down, right? There are two systems. Satan's system and God's system, and they are against God's system. They speak with the most despicable words. Oh man, that dictator, he's an evil dictator. So all dictators are evil, but then they tell you they love Jesus, and Jesus is a dictator. You can't get any more. If you want to use the word dictator, you can't get any more dictator than that. You know, he's the greatest dictator of all times. Because he has the power to tear your ass up even after you die. Saddam Hussein didn't have that power. Hitler didn't have that power. You understand? All these people they call dictators, you know, they didn't have that power. Gaddafi didn't have that power. His power was limited to just beating your ass while you're here alive. But Jesus can get you after you, then plus he can destroy your ass eternally. And you got to do what he says. In other words, the other ones, you probably could get away with stuff, but this one, he knew your thoughts, so you couldn't even think wrong. He had complete control over you, and you had no say-so whatsoever, none. He said, his way or the highway. He said, my way is the only way. You see what I'm saying? But they're against that. They are against that. That's why I said they're gonna make war with God. I'm trying to make it very simple. Now you can go in. Now you can go in and try to twist scripture if you want to, but some of you probably want to drop the scriptures now. You see? Because I ain't gonna talk like that. I sure ain't gonna talk like that on a job. I sure ain't talk like that with my friends because I know, man, I won't lose my job. See, my master throw me off the plantation. Now where I'm going to eat. See, if I don't listen to master, he gonna throw me on the plantation. Where I'm gonna eat, where I'm gonna sleep. See, that's what you think. Because you're still a slave. That's why you still call yourself Jeffrey Richardson. Because you don't upset master in any kind of way. See, because you're still a slave, but you just don't admit it. See, because you're still a slave, stone cold slave. It's just 2.0. You're still cold cold slave. You just don't want to admit it. All they did was just upgrade. Yeah, right. Upgrade the names and everything else, but you're still a slave. You just don't admit it. See, we don't care if you admit it or not. See, because if you stay here, you're going down. It says, "Come out here, my people." We're calling you out. Come out here, my people. You have another choice. So you already served, right? Your sentence, if you want to call it that. You did your 400 years. See. But you're still a slave. Your mind's still frozen. Even though this is spring thaw, right? You're still embracing the icicles. All the remnants of the winter, you're still embracing them. That means you can't thaw out. And that means when spring comes in fullness, you're going to be destroyed. See, because all when the fullness, the ice, see, during the spring thaw, only thing that's there is the spring people that's been thrown out, and the ice people that are remnants from the winter, and they're melting. Their power is fading quickly. See, but you're embracing them. That means you will not be thrown out when the spring thaw is over. See, I hope you understand, brothers and sisters, the great deception. See. Great deception. They said they would deceive the whole world. So now they got you worshiping Satan. You don't even know it. See? Oh, democracy. And you're afraid of, and so you're afraid of Satan. See, Jesus was in the desert hungry and starving, and that's when Satan approached him. He said, "Hell with you, I don't care." See? Because he couldn't get him. But he got you. And you don't want to hear this. Because oh man, I ain't gonna get on the internet talk that because they're going to lose my job. See, and America's on fire. You see it's on fire, and you're going to burn right with it. See, because you can't let this go. You can't let this go. See, Satan got you. See, as we call it, the gravitational vortex of this false reality. See, they got you. But like I said, the spring thaw, the ice is losing its power. See, because you got America is the great ice fortress. It was the great ice fortress for the winter. Great ice fortress. See, that if you're a winter person, you find refuge there. All the demons found refuge. I want to go to America. See, but now that fortress is melting, and the spring thaw, and it's melting fast. See, so their power is fading, but you see their power is fading, but they don't look at it that way. Look, you can see it back there, and they got their ass kicked in Vietnam by rice farmers, and then they got their ass kicked in Afghanistan by sheep herders. What'd that tell you? See? But you don't see that, and so Master Prophet Muhammad is getting ready to short circuit. He's getting ready to short circuit your programming. Because you was programmed into Negro butts. 1619, the first Negro bus came off the assembly line. It took 64 years to turn you into a Negro butt. 64 years from 1555 to 1619. And the first Negro bus came off the assembly line, stamped and certified in 1619. See, totally programmed. Programmed not to think, or to do what Master tell them to do. See, certified with Master's brands. See, Jimmy Richardson. See, Jesse Washington. You went in Kunta Kinte and you came out Toby. And now you're proud of those names. And not even names, they're just brands. If you walk around, you call yourself Jason Richardson, that's massive brand. That's not a name. That's not a name, it's a brand, but you think it's a name. And you're proud of it. Shows you're still programmed. See? And you're not going to take, and let's say one more thing here. Let me check something. Then I'm going to say one more thing, then we're going to close out here, brothers and sisters. Well, the truth is everywhere. Okay, well, let me say this and back up here. Let me move this over here. Let's see. Let's see here. Okay, for those of you who want to just take the website here. This is an interview that Farrakhan did with the, I think the New York Post, or was it? I forgot the magazine. But anyway, when you take and look at this, it tells you the magazine that he admits his father's parents were white, Caucasian, Portuguese. That would make his father Caucasian. See, now he tell you what, father Jamaican, that's his nationality, not his ethnicity. Go check it out. See? That's him talking. So if you're satisfied with worshiping the devil, then have at it. Okay? The swine, he's talking about a swan song, that's a swine song. There's his father right there. They show a picture if you do a bio on him. That's father, Percival Clark. Looks just like him. He's a devil. See? He loves devils. See him how he kiss on him? He said, oh, Father Flagrant, he's not a devil. Okay, well, I guess he's not. So let's go back and look at this, brothers and sisters, then we're going to, there's the website right there. So, oops, going the wrong direction here. Okay, so let me finish up here. So that's the world in general terms. See? Because that's what it breaks down to. You got Satan's world, this is reality. His now the new world's coming in, right? That's the God and the high priest. That's what we're talking about in Revelation. The Lord of Lords, King of Kings, and the King of Kings, Lord of Lords. And Habakkuk, it's got two, right? In Sunni culture, you have the Mahdi and the Christ. See? But they bring a new world. That's the spring thaw. That's what you see coming in now. But one of the things you identify as Suleiman, or the Lamb of God, was he would break the 7 seals. That's what's coming in. But it's being opposed by the winter. That's why it's a spring thaw. Spring thaw is the winter's trying to hold on. It's been opposed. See? And the demons, like I said, they're the hidden enemy. See? They're the ones, Elijah Muhammad said, the last attack. They said people didn't understand it, because I was there when these things were said. I was there between the 70s and 75s, right? But basically, right, the demons would be the last enemy. So they would come in looking like, he put in terms of females. He said the females would come into the temple. See, that's what Elijah Muhammad called them. And they would look like original people. And they would be pulling the brothers out to their destruction. And we see that right now. See, when Wallace came in, he brought a lot of devils in with him. I mean, I was working at Muhammad Street newspaper, and next thing I know, look around, the devils up there with a little short dress and everything, and so they working up in here. And you had a lot of these Negro butts that called themselves FY. They was they were stumbling over themselves trying to get one of them and marry them. I mean, this happened like overnight. Elijah Muhammad wasn't even gone. He wasn't even gone a second, and this happened. And he's probably FOI. They was fighting over each other to get to these devils. And they would come near ugly, skanks, half clothes. Right? But they was calling themselves MGT. They don't tell you the whole story. I'm not going into all the details about Farrakhan, how he destroyed people's lives, how he turned on the messenger. I was there. He don't want to tell you the whole truth. See? He was a coward. So when the wolves came, he ran and hid. He's a coward. That's why God removes his balls, because cowards don't need balls. But the great deception, brothers and sisters, right? You're being deceived totally. And so now you're locked in. You got mortgages, you got all this stuff, right? Now you're really locked in the slave, because you were a slave before. Now they make you think that you got control. See? Oh, we giving slaves, we giving them money. See, we paying them for being in the fields. Oh, they being paid? That means you're not slaves anymore. That's a job. Just think about it. You're in the field, you're picking cotton, you're getting your ass kicked, right? They had total control of you, but now they say, no, we're going to give you money. So now you can you can pay for that shack we give you. You can pay for the shillings we give you. Oh, see, they being paid, now it's a job. See, I transformed the whole idea just in a second. Now it's a job, and you're getting paid. So now you got just enough to pay for that rack shack that you've been sleeping on with no floor on the ground. You got enough to pay for the shitless they've been making you eat. See, and enough to pay for that mule to get back out to the field. You're still in the same situation, hasn't changed one bit. Or they not, I got a job now. I'm not a slave anymore. And you don't understand that? So now you got your little car. That 90% of the reason why you got that car is to get back and forth to work. See? And you got just enough money to pay for that little apartment that you're living in. See? And buy that messed up food they selling you. Most are still eating that pork and all that kind of stuff. And you don't see the difference? There's upgraded. Now America got a little more richer, just like a dog. If a man is poor, the dog eats scraps. Right? The man get a little more affluent, then the dog might eat dog food. He gets more affluent, they might get hamburgers. They get more affluent, they might get pork chops. A little more affluent, they might end up eating steak. But it's still a dog. You're still a slave. America just got richer. You still got his brand, don't you? You still just call yourself Jamie Richardson, don't you? You do what he tells you to do, don't you? When you go on a job, you do exactly what they tell you to do, because that's dictatorship. Otherwise, you you don't understand that? You're still a slave. But you know, oh man, I got a job now. You had a job when you was in the field. They didn't pay you. Well, they did pay you. They just didn't give you money. That's the trick of money. They still paid you. They paid you with that raggedy little shack you was living in, that shitlings you was eating. Right? The little raggedy-ass clothes they was giving you, that's how they paid you. But now they give you money so you can buy it. And now you think because they gave you the trick of money that now all of a sudden now you're free. That's an illusion. What if right now they say, okay, we're not going to give you money anymore. We're not going to give you money anymore. So, right? But you got the job, right? So we're going to subsidize your apartment. We're going to subsidize your car. We're going to subsidize your food bill. No money no more, just doing the same thing. You got the same thing you had before, exactly the same thing, but you ain't getting no money. So what would you call that situation? See, it's exactly the same thing. They subsidize it now. Ain't that the same thing you was when you was chained slavery? It's the same thing. The money is just delusion to make you think, oh, I said eat free because I can pay for it. So now you ain't paying for it anymore. You don't have a job anymore. You just do what they tell you to do, and you keep having these things. The great deception, brothers and sisters. The great deception and the hidden enemy. And like I said, I try to explain the enemy in different terms, right? Because they destabilizing the world. That's why you got all these conflicts in these nations, disagreements, right? Rioting and all that kind of stuff. Because they say, we want to be democracy. We want to be a democracy. That's the demons talking. They want to be like America. They want to come to America. Then you got stupid people like Tucker Carlson. Man, well, if America was so bad and everything, how can people want to come here? Because you're going to destabilize their countries. They got no place else to go. You're going to destroy their countries, and then they got a place to go, but come here. They say, see, everybody wants to come here because you destroyed their country. But most of them didn't want to come to begin with, unless they were demons. They had no place else to go. And all the demons want to come here. And we want them to come here. See, that's another little secret, right? Because you're like a magnet. You're like what they call it, lightning rod. Because you're drawing all the demons here, just like false Israel drawing all false Israelites there. So easy to get to you. But like I said, Master Muhammad is getting ready to short circuit you Negro butts. You can ready to short circuit your programming. You can ready to short circuit your programming. See, because you're in a great deception. But see, the thing is that, say for instance, you're in a plantation. See, but now there's something happens where the whole economy collapses and everything else. See, and so slave masters don't have no food for you anymore. You have anything. No, you can't provide housing. See, then you run away. You see, because he can't provide it for you anymore. So you broke that illusion, and that's what Master Muhammad's going to do. He's going to short circuit your programming, because he's going to. Biden just told you we're going to have food shortages. That ain't the half of it, because America is going to be. It's going to be a famine in America. So it's always coming. It's raging. See, it's not going to be no food here in a while. Everything. This whole economy is about to collapse, and when it collapses, that's going to break that illusion. That's going to short circuit your programming, right? See, not only that, but then when false Israel is taken down, all that together is going to short circuit your programming. See, you're going to go, and then you're going to snap out of it. Some of you are going to snap out too late, because false Israel is the cornerstone of this whole false reality. Because they stole our identity, they claim they're the true seed of Abraham, but if they are, they cannot be destroyed. But they're about to be destroyed. I told you this war with Russia and Ukraine is not it. That's not Armageddon. It's it's preliminary, but it's not it. The true war is going to spark. Is going to be in the Middle East when false Israel and everything goes against Iran. That's what will be the spark. That's going to cause America and Britain to be thrown out, and they're going to immediately go to war. In Europe, that's going to be a war for Armageddon. And false Israel is going to be seized. It's going to be abandoned, under siege, right? And it'll be taken down. And that's when they're taken down, that means we are the true seed of Abraham. We're going to send shockwaves to the world. It's going to short circuit your programming. See? And you're going to snap out of it, but some are going to snap out too late. See? Because then you realize, and the thing is their hold over you will be broken. Because now they're in trouble everywhere. Everything's falling apart. The economy's collapsed here, you're going to have no jobs, electricity is gone, the food is gone, see? So the hold on you is broken. You're going to short circuit your programming. And then you're going to come, but then most of you, it's going to be too late for a lot of you. See? Because it's a free gift. You don't have to pay me anything. I'm giving you this free. Or well, everything is, well, whatever, right? If it's free, must not be worth anything. Okay, well, keep giving it to T.J. Jakes. Keep giving to him, see if he got the Lamb's Book of Life. It's a great deception, brothers and sisters, the great deception. See? And I'm going to leave you with this one. I'm going to touch on this one. You better go and read about the brass serpent. See? You need the angel to understand that. And you understand Daniel. Because Daniel got the statue with gold, silver, brass, and iron. Why in that order? Gold, silver, brass, iron. Because brass can be a fool's gold. And iron can be a fool's silver. See? So those are 4 kingdoms. The first kingdom is our kingdom. It said this kingdom covered the whole world. You've never seen a kingdom do that before, except the Europeans. That was us. See, and then it fell to the African kingdom. That's the silver. That's where gold and silver. Remember, gold and silver is what is what we extracted from America on the way out. It says if we take the gold and silver, we plunder them because we the gold and the silver. The gold represents a tribe of Shabazz, and the silver represents the Levites. But they was grafted in. That's another story. See, and then you got those pretending. So the brass pretending to be the gold. That's the false Israel. So identify who the brass is. So remember, Moses told them to make a brass serpent, and serpents also represents the false Israel. So and they put him on a stick. That's a Jew on a stick. That's the cross. And the thing is, all loose serpents, right? They're the Europeans. See, the big serpent was false Israel. The loose serpent is just European. Because remember, you got to understand the scripture. Because it says they were the 12 tribes of Israel. The false 12 tribes. But the Judah was the top tribe. There's 12 altogether. That's where the word Jew comes from. They from Judah, that tribe. Then you got the other 11, right? And that represents the Europeans. See? So these are little serpents. So the little serpents was biting the people. That's our people. The Negro butts. They was biting them. And they didn't know what to do. See? They didn't want to listen to Moses. But they said, Moses, do something. See? Because if they listened to Moses, they wouldn't have the problem. But they didn't want. So he says, what can we do? We want some other kind of method. So they said, okay. And the serpents were biting them. So they said, okay, put this brass serpent on a stick. Right? That's the cross. And if you look up and worship that, then they won't serpent. That's what happens. So that's why people won't listen to this message. See? Because they go around, I'm a Christian. They put a cross on it, and they figure white folks ain't going to bother them. I'm a Christian. See, my name is James Jeff Richardson. See? So they look, he's still programmed, so I ain't going to bother him. See? But if you walk around with a name like Suleiman Rahim, right? See? And you're a Muslim, see? You're scared for that one. And I did it for years. After Elijah Muhammad departed, right? My name became Rahim. Not just on paper. Everything. There's no traces of my slave name nowhere. On my license, my birth certificate, nothing. Everything got changed. See? I didn't go to no court to do it. I just told them I want to change it. But now they got rules after 911. You got to get the judge to do it. And I kind of said, I said, well, I need a judge. Look, I need to tell a judge, tell what my name is. Anyway, they never got changed. There's no trace of it anymore. Right? See? And I went out and started my own computer business, consultant. See? And I wasn't afraid because I know who the God is, right? And I ain't afraid of these devils. And I'm not going to wear a cross because they're going to get scared. They're going to not hire me and all this kind of stuff. And I went and got that. And everybody know I'm Muslim. And I'm not hiring any damn thing. And I was very successful doing it as a contractor. Now, I would say I was very good at it. So I had very good references. So I get on the contract. And they would never renew my contract because they had me come and do a special project. And I'd do it. And they wanted me out of there. Because they thought I might influence other people. I hear a lot of times, because I see these Negro butts, they're on the job, and they don't know shit. And they're like little pets. They be rubbing their head and stuff. Right? And I said, And I'd be trying to tell her, I said, hey, brother, let me explain, let me show you how this stuff works. So she, because they like to have them around so they can say, see, we nice, these little Negroes, because they didn't know anything, but they try to say, see, we like pets. And they would tell me, what you talking there for? They would come out directly, tell me what you talking there for. And they wouldn't want me around after I finished my contract. They loved my work. They didn't want me to stick around. But I still was very good at what I did. And, right? And I didn't walk in, call myself Thomas Richardson. His name was Rahim. I'm Muslim. See? Because I know who I am. I ain't afraid of them. See? But I found Negroes on these jobs. They was afraid of them, and they tried to call me out. Hey, Rock Jim. I said, what do you mean, Rock Jim? They, in front of all the white folks, tried to make, hey, Rock Jim. My name is Rahim. No, it's all the same. I always had to kick a bunch of Negroes' butt and stuff like that. Because they tried to front me off in front of the devils, see? Because they had no balls, and they were trying to make it look like I was nothing. And I'd get right in that stuff. And let me say this one little thing that I'm going to let go. When they had, I was working for Piscataway at the time, right? I moved from Chicago back to New Jersey. I think it was like 84. And first I was working on the vestiture, Actually, I was working. That's what I was going because they broke up AT&T, and I worked on that project for them. Right, I saved them a lot of money. I'm not going into details, right? I saved them a lot of money because they, like that Hidden Figures thing, they was bogged down, and they had to wait for some software to be developed, about 6 months in order to keep on moving, and I showed them how to do it in like a couple of weeks. I must say the millions and millions of dollars. But after I finished that job they had me do, I was out of there. Anyway, they had this guy named Eric, Devil. And there had some other blacks in there. He would go around, he put his hand in their hair and rub their hair and stuff. And they would just be giggling. I said, what the? Right? So he come over, I shared his crew with his sister, right? He come over there, and I saw him coming over there. I said, hey, wait a minute. I said, hey, what you doing over here? Did he want to reach out his hand? I said, hey, hold it. I said, you better not put your hands on me, right? Now, you get a warning. Only reason you're getting this warning is because we're here on this job. See? That's the only reason you get a warning, because if you wasn't a warning, I'd be tore your ass up already, because he claimed he was a Marine and everything. He was funky. I mean, that guy had, I don't think he used deodorant and stuff. He had all that yellow stuff on it. He was funky. But he was doing that kind of stuff. See? He had this girl there, her name was like VG or whatever her name was. Right? They have long names, but she had to get shortened it, so, and she was from India. They had 2 or 3 Indians in the country at the time. He would be pulling her hair and stuff. She come to me, hey, Raheem, man, because she would come to me and say, Raheem, because she saw in me, and I wasn't afraid of him. Raheem, would you tell him to stop mess with me like that? So I told him, I said, why don't you let that girl alone? She ain't bothering you. Right? She was from India. She wore a traditional dress, right? She didn't wear, like, they modern now, but she wore an Indian traditional dress, had the long braid and stuff. He'd be pulling. So I warned him. So he was still doing all that. I said, man, what's wrong with these black folks? Why they? He said, rub their head and stuff and say so off jokes. So I warned him. So one day, we was all gathered together in the queue because he had some software he was trying to demonstrate to everybody that something we had to use. And so he was trying to show everybody how to use it. So we all around there surrounded him. He was at the computer and we all surrounded him. And all the white folks were there, right? It was, I don't think there was any black folks in that meeting, right? Just me. And then he went off one of his off racial jokes. I grabbed that chump, pulled him up out of the chair. All the white folks grabbed me. Come on, Raheem. We're going to get us all fired. You see? Because the way you see me now, that's the way I was on my contracts. I don't bullshit. I don't play games. I mean, I was professional. But I didn't take no bullshit. And you don't have to take no bullshit either. You don't have to walk around those names, you understand? Because you're the God, but you don't understand your power. Because they disarmed you with this bullshit. Disarmed you. And so you think you have no power. And now spring thawed. You got all kinds of power. Your power is growing every day. But I call it a time of self-imposed energy deprivation because they got you mind stuck in NBA, NFL, and everything else instead of use your energy to benefit yourself and benefit your nation. You don't have to submit to these clowns anymore. There's no time. That time is past. The winter's over. If you're deceived now because you want to be deceived, see, your God is on the scene. He's about to short circuit your programming. Your high priest is here telling you exactly. He's breaking all the stuff down you that you didn't even know existed before. That's what a high priest does. I'm breaking all the stuff down you and defining everybody, who the dragon is, who the devils are, who the Dajjal is, the whole 9 yards. Because that's what I call revelations. You don't have to put up their bullshit no more. If you do, that's up to you. See? Because that's part of the high priest. He's supposed to set the example. And anybody that knows me knows 2 things about me. I don't put no bullshit, and my word is bond. Not sometimes, all the time. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it, period. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. Everybody that knows me knows that. They might not like me, but they know that. I don't put no bullshit, especially from devils. I never did, even before I found out about Elijah Muhammad. I didn't put up with devils back then. I didn't know what I was doing, but I know I was to put up with that. I can tell you the story. I can go back and tell you the backstory behind that, about my father taught me. But the point is that you don't need to be doing anything. It's what it says. It says all the fearful will be thrown in the lake of fire. Because you're still a slave, because you're fearful. It says, because the fear of death is the reason why we do it, all the slavery and everything else. It says, all the fearful, read chapter 20, all the fearful will be thrown in the lake of fire. And that's where they got you. See, they got you in fear. Because all this is bullshit. This Christianity stuff is bullshit. You can't prove it. It's all about fear. They tell your children at 3 and 4 years old, if you can't question Jesus, you can't do anything, right? And you're going to hell. And they froze the child's mind. Before the child even can begin to think, they already stopped them from thinking. Fear. The root of this great deception, fear. See? You have Farrakhan putting fear in you. See? Fear. The great deception. Okay, Bones, I think we're about to close this out here. The hidden enemy. T.D. Jakes, Farrakhan, he's the chief demon. Okay. It's a masterful, it's a genius. It's genius program. What they really did to us. I talked about it in other previous presentations about how they used the women, the maternal instinct of the woman, to forward this program. Hidden enemy, brothers and sisters. Hope you understand. So let's see what we got here. Okay, brothers and sisters, this is to our audio brothers and sisters. This is this is the Black Alert segment of the Fire Zone. Thank you for listening. Black Alert out. And to you brothers and sisters, video brothers and sisters, thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum.